Hey everyone, welcome to day 2 of Comic-Con at Home. I'm Mike Bonanno, Creative Director of Toys, and we have Hector Arce, also Creative Director of Toys, and Bob Fulkerson, Director of Sales for Toys, and Eric in Posters hanging out with us.
I'm hanging out.
So we just wanted to invite everybody kind of into like a digital tour of what our booth would have been like for Comic-Con. So we're going to start off by showing you a slideshow with some music, so it's kind of like you're checking out our display cases. So we can probably start off looking at that.
Cool.
Cool.
That was it.
So that's a lot of stuff to take in. So anything you guys saw, if you have questions about, Hector and I would love to answer any questions you got.
Yep, for sure.
Someone's asking where the music came from
Oh, really?
in the chat. Yeah.
Actually, it's my brother's music. His name is Richard Arce, and yeah, he's been playing music for like 10 years now, and we figured why not use it. So, yeah.
Should we bring in our special guests?
Yeah.
Love to.
Do it.
So we have backstage, we've got Florian Bertmer, artist extraordinaire of a ton of great posters, and James Groman, legendary toy designer, coming out to hang out with us.
Hey, everybody.
Hey,
How's it
James.
going, y'all?
Yeah, we're super stoked to have both of these wonderful artists with us. It's crazy. So cool.
Excited to be here.
Likewise.
So I guess we'll start off with a question for James that was something I've always wondered is how did you originally get into the toy business from day one? What was your first interaction with that?
It was funny. I was a student at the Cleveland Institute of Art. I went to art school right out of high school, and I studied to be an illustrator. I wanted to work in movies and do film design. I did a bunch of movie posters as one of my final thesis projects at school. And when I graduated, I did nothing but monsters and science fiction, and my teachers didn't know what the heck to do with me. They were editorial illustrators and stuff. So when I graduated, since I had so many monsters in my portfolio, I caught the eye of American Greetings, which had just started the Madball line at that time, and they also had My Pet Monster. And so I was one of the few students that stepped right out of school into a job because they needed someone to draw monsters. I drew monsters. They were right here in Cleveland, and that's where I went to school. So that was my introduction. I was going to go to LA, and I decided to take a job there, but and then just got to sit and draw all day long, and I loved it. And all they did is want me to draw just nonstop. I mean, Madballs every single day. I'd do so many drawings in a day that some of the older guys would come over and go, "Slow down, you're making us up." So but that was the start. That's what got me started, and it just picked up momentum from there, and it's been an awesome ride.
That's all. Do you still have any of those old Madball characters that never came out? Do you still have any of those illustrations?
Yeah, a lot of them.
I'd love to see those. That's awesome.
Yeah, various. Probably. I mean, I also did the Resurgence back in 2006, and in 2006 we actually we went on a mad design. Had a design party where we just kind of came up with like 90 new designs. It was mostly because there was a Spanish company that was going to do a card game, and they needed a lot of characters. So very few of those saw the light of day. But even back in the 80s and the 90s, there was a ton of characters that never really made it, whether they were too gross or just didn't fit into the line or whatever. They never were released. But I believe that there's been some companies that have licensed Madballs and we're going to put out those old designs, but never got around to it. So I'm hoping they see the light of day one of these days.
Oh, me too. That's cool.
I think it's, sorry, Mike. The Man-Thing design you did is incredible. And can you walk us through really quickly, like what your thought process was with coming up with the design?
Let's actually, Mikey, let's pull that up so people can talk about it while James is kind of giving some commentary. Let's pull it up on screen.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, there's a little spider coming down right in front of me.
Impromptu spider.
Yeah, actually, I was always, this was, of all the huge amount of Marvel characters in their universe, this was always one of my favorites. I mean, go figure. But yeah, I guess my main focus most of the time is if I'm doing a character that might be a very well-known character or a character that's existed for any length of time, pop culture character. It's kind of character designer 101 is to try to do something that no one else has done or try to bring in elements that are totally unique and different than everyone else. I think every designer, every character designer does that. And that's what I did with this guy. Is so many brilliant artists have worked on him over the years and done their own takes, and they're amazing. There's so many great ones. Mike Plug was the guy that got me into the comic back in the day. He had a run of about 10, 15 issues. But yeah, I just wanted to bring in a little bit of that. He's a human being, and his origin is very similar to Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
where he is injected with the super serum, the same stuff that makes Captain America. Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah, the super soldier serum. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little hypodermic actually as a detail on one of his arms that's still stuck in his arm. That's another thing I like to do is I wanted some storytelling elements. I wanted to have some of the human element in there, that he once was a man. That's why you see like a somewhat human spine, and then that skull might even be it's Ted Salas, I think, is the character's name that becomes Man-Thing. That might actually be his skull. That as he was growing, his head just came right out of his skull, and
that's great.
Awesome.
That attention to detail is what makes your work so incredible. I think it's one of those things where when you see your work, that's like your eye is just like overwhelmed in like the best possible way, where you're just like, for me, even as a sculptor, when I look at it, I'm just like, oh my God, there's so many cool little things to like focus in on, and just it's awesome. It's amazing.
Yeah, you have a way to simplify stuff but have a ton of details in it. That's just really cool. It's incredible.
I really appreciate that, because it is very important that your eye can kind of rest, on an overall silhouette, but then start picking out those details. I think that's what I always look for. I like to think of these figures almost like a comic themselves, that you can actually read them. You can actually look at them and wow, look at them.
You have a full story here. That's awesome.
And I greatly appreciate this opportunity, man. What a dream project,
Oh man, we're lucky to have you. Seriously, it's such an honor to have you making this with us.
Yeah, and it's incredible. I mean, when it was one of those things where when you showed us the design, we're like, we have to make this. Like, there's no way, like we can't, like we have to. And luckily, all the stars aligned, and we're now good to go. So,
yeah, it's so exciting. I cannot wait. And it's just when I do all that detail, now I look at it and I go, now I got to sculpt this thing.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a question asking how long you think something like this would take you.
I got to get over this habit. Sometimes I will say 2 months, and it takes 3 for the most part. But, I'm thinking that I could keep this 2 months, and that's sometimes it all depends on what I'm when it gets right down to what I'm getting paid, how fast it's needed, and all that stuff is how fast I do a sculpture. But this is one where I'm going to try to cut down on any other work other than this. And if I can totally concentrate on this for 2 months, that should not be a problem at all.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned it or if everyone realizes that you also paint and do everything on these things. Sculpting, painting. It's pretty nice. It's awesome. Yeah,
I like to do the paint masters for the most part. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes you have to make some compromises and everything, but it's, I love being, as much as, I don't want to circumnavigate the idea that seeing other people's takes on paint jobs and everything. That's one of the cool things about Sofubi and the whole vinyl toy market, is seeing everybody's their own version of something that you've sculpted. But I like kind of that persistence of vision.
Not to really put you on the spot, James, but how many hours? Because there's a lot of hours, and I could do the math in front of everybody, but it would be wrong. How many hours in 2 months?
And people need to realize that you're traditionally sculpting these, right? You're not using any digital assets or anything like that. You're creating this out of clay. So every hour that goes into it is
it's monumental, man.
Awesome. Yeah, and we were talking before this panel. I have to sculpt both arms, sculpt one arm and it is mirrored on the other side. No, I have to sculpt both arms. And plus, I tried to give him kind of a more of an asymmetrical look.
Yeah, absolutely.
Using the tree trunk leg and then the big arm, smaller arm. I think that's just how a plant grows. It's sometimes it's not symmetrical. So, but I would say you could be looking at, 120.
Ooh, wow.
No.
If not more. If not more, right?
Yeah, if not more, because it's hard for me to say because I get lost in these things. Time doesn't mean anything. I don't eat sometimes. I just lose track of time.
Absolutely.
I go into like micro world and I start getting into those vines and the veins and all that stuff, and I lose track of everything.
Before you know it, you've lost 4 or 5 hours and you didn't even realize it, right? Yeah.
Pardon if this is like a pedestrian question. I'm super entry level in the world of toys, but when you're sculpting, doing these traditionally, are you sculpting sort of like 1-to-1 size? Or are you sculpting smaller that gets blown up, larger that gets shrunk down? Because this is going to be about a 12-inch figure. So what sort of scale is that whenever you're actually creating?
I'm usually working pretty close to 1-to-1, but there is shrinkage with vinyl. Of course, I think it's like 7%. You'll hear different numbers, but what I've always heard is 7% or so. So I might work slightly larger. A lot of times it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. But the thing about the other thing we were talking about is a lot of my sculptures, because they're being sent overseas, I'll finish the traditional sculpt and then I'll have them scanned, and then we will bring them into ZBrush. And the reality of that is that you can make them pretty much any size you want from there, And
Exactly.
But most of the time I'm 1-to-1.
And it's a cool segue into like just 3D sculpting in general, because it's one of those things where the option to scan is there, but it's not that available for everybody, right? It's one of those things where it's still kind of rare to find a 3D scanning place. I don't know. I mean, there are a handful, but you kind of need to know what you're looking for in order to get some good quality out there. But that's awesome. I didn't know that you had your sculptures scanned, which makes a lot of sense, because then you can clean it up in ZBrush if needed and then print them at whatever size. And then you don't have to worry about shipping it.
And setting up your tooling too, like your joints on your arms and legs.
Exactly.
And everything. It really helps with that. So it's like the best of both worlds in a way.
Awesome. I think we should, Florian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got, well, if people don't know, Florian is an amazing artist, and he designs all the artwork for our He-Man and Masters of the Universe figures. All the box art that you see is all done by Florian.
My name is Florian Bertmer. I'm originally from Germany, but I live in Los Angeles now. I've been an illustrator for, I don't know how many years, a long time. I've always collected toys, but up until recently, I haven't really been able to, figure out how to do them. So I'm really excited to be working on toys now.
How is that sort of transition? Again, sorry to step in, but like I think for a lot of people that have been following either your career or following Mondo for a minute, they might primarily know you as working on the poster, on the 2D art side of things. Right. So like what sort of like inspired that transition to want to go more into the 3D space?
Well, I've always wanted to do it, but I never could figure out like how to start. Well, I did a vinyl toy with Unbox a few years ago, my Hand of Glory toy. But that was more of a sculpture, I would say, than an actual toy. But one thing that was definitely a big learning curve was to do a character turnaround for the first time. I was like, "Oh, haven't done this before." Ooh, so that took some learning. But once you kind of get the hang of it, I'm, getting there. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I can imagine doing the turns is one of those things where it's like pretty daunting at first.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I remember when I did the character design for the Trapjaw Mondo. Oh my goodness! How does this curve look when it goes to the side, on the back? That gave me so many headaches.
Yeah.
But, it's with everything, like you have to learn it, and then after a while it becomes easier. Hopefully.
I think we're looking at here your turnarounds for the Skeletor Tiki mug.
Yeah, and it's great. I love that. If people don't know, Florian also designed our Krampus Tiki mug, which turned out fantastic and really captured our his art style like perfectly. So he's doing the Skeletor mug for us, and we're super excited to get started on it.
Which, by the way, is a total dream project because, fun fact, as a kid, my mom never wanted to buy me Skeletor because she saw me as a little kid. I started drawing skulls because of Skeletor. I think I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I drew like in one of my dad's comic books. I drew like a Skeletor. My mom was like, "Oh hell no, no, he's not getting that guy." Well, as we can see, that didn't really have the effect my mom wanted. So here we are.
I remember my mom was always really weird about me like being into like the bad guys. She's like, why do you like the guy with the skull? Like,
yeah, why wouldn't I?
Like the other guy with no shirt on. He's cool.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to He-Man, but come on, Skeletor. Come on.
I was always more of all of Skeletor and his henchmen kind of thing than I was a He-Man and his crew fan kind of thing.
Totally, yeah.
I mean, Merman and Beastman and Trapjaw, like those are rad. Evil Lynn, I mean, they're all cool. They're so cool.
Is their name Evelyn or is it Evelyn? I always wondered about that.
I always thought,
you know what I mean? Evelyn. Well, it's probably Evelyn, but it's like
it's Evelyn, but it's intentionally a play on Evelyn.
It's a play on words. So yeah, and Florian is designing, and he started already, but he is designing a future Trapjaw figure. That's really going to be coming out.
Yeah, hopefully we can share that pretty soon. I do have a question for you, Florian. Like, because you have such a unique art style that you see a lot of I see European comics and like EC comic style in a lot of your stuff. What are your major influences that got you into illustration and your style?
It's mainly older illustrators, I would say. It's mainly non-European ones, I would say, because as a kid growing up in Germany, I always looked what wasn't around me, and it was American comics. So we had a lot of European comics, which I also loved, but I always liked Marvel, DC, and all that type of thing. But in terms of like traditional illustrators and painters, I always like people like Geoff Darrow, Frank Frazetta, even Art Nouveau, Alphonse Mucha.
One of my favorite artists. Yeah.
Oh, beautiful. Even or like from the punk music scene, like the old 80s, 90s Pustet stuff. I always loved that. To like comic books, like recent stuff that I still like. Adam Hughes. I love Adam Hughes. Mm-hmm. There's so many,
Yeah.
What about you, James? What are some inspirations that sort of you?
Well, he's got Frazetta in there, and Frazetta's probably my number one. Just the power of his work and everything, and just his attention to and just understanding of anatomy, just amazing. Especially his women. His women figures are like, put him on the map, and but his heroes are just amazing. But no, I'm also like I think we've talked about it a few times in the past with you guys, where I'm into movies big time, and I'm into special effects, stop motion animation, and King Kong, and Willis O'Brien, and Ray Harryhausen. Hopefully, people know who those people are, but they were guys that did special effects and stop motion animation in films like Seven Voyages of Sinbad and Jason the Argonauts. But that might be one of my earliest influences are those movies, because I remember I must have been 4 or 5 years old when I saw those movies, and I still remember them. They just struck me. I remember sitting at like my grandparents' house watching King Kong and having him explain the movie to me and how the character was done, and I was hooked. So yeah, it's like it's something that I have influences from art and also a lot from film. I think in film a lot of time.
That's awesome.
James, as a sculptor, do you like George Bridgman?
Yes, actually, I have a lot of his he has one anatomy book that is like the Bible.
Which one? Constructive Anatomy, that one, or the other one?
Actually, it's probably around my studio here somewhere. But the structure to his figures it's like the guy. In fact, I don't even know that he ever sculpted, because his stuff looks so dimensional.
I don't think so. I just know that story that Frazetta apparently copied the entire book in 2 days, and that's how I learned anatomy.
Oh yeah, that's
that story.
Legends.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's rad.
I
What,
think go ahead, Mike. Yeah.
what transitioned you from the world of just like mass market toys into the designer toy world? Like, when did you first take notice of that, and then when did you start designing in that realm?
Right around the time I got a job offer from Hasbro back in like early 2000s, and I went there and I worked on Star Wars and I worked on Transformers, and I love that place. I worked there for about 5 years, but there were Newberry Comics that were right there in the area that I would go down to those at lunchtime with a lot of the guys, and I started to see these vinyl toys there, and they were just like unlike anything else. The designs were real eccentric designs, and they weren't based on any licensed property. They were more like stuff that people just come up with, and that's where I first noticed it. But so that kind of put it on my radar. But there was when I came back to Cleveland and started working on Mad Balls, there was a gentleman that worked for you guys are familiar with Lulubelle Toys, Shogun, Luke Rook. He got a hold of me and he said, man, you got to make the transition into vinyl toys. And we sat down and brainstormed and came up with Rotten Rex, which is that big Tyrannosaurus vinyl toy that I did. And that kind of just launched it. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome. I think that's a great transition into that an announcement. I mean, we kind of showed it in the slide, but we now have the license to make Toho and Godzilla vinyl and Sofubi. So it's like a dream come true for me in particular, but also for Mike too. And I think all of Mondo to be able to make some awesome, like stylized Sofubi vinyl figures.
Those are awesome.
So it's one of those things where like we're starting off with this Hedora, which is like very stylized and just meant to be cute kind of thing, and we're gonna do a whole variety of colors that are just gonna be very limited. So we're really aiming to keep every variant limited, but also have a lot of them. So
and Hector, this is your sculpt, right? This is the one you said. Is this
yes, I sculpted this in ZBrush, and it was one of those things where I was like, I really want a Hedora. We were all into talking about Hedora for like the Hedora, for a while, and it was one of those things where I was just like, took a weekend to sculpt it, and then I showed it to the guys, and everyone was like, let's try to get this done, and then we talked to Toho, and it was one of those other things that just kind of lined up for us magically. And we're super stoked. We're going to do we're going to do a lot of, we have good plans for 2021 for vinyl figures and Sofubi Hedora.
Do you, I know you don't like talking about it, but do you want to talk about your connection to Godzilla?
I was going to ask the same thing. And
I got to out you, man. We're not going to talk about Godzilla. We're going to talk about your connection to Godzilla. Come on. Spill beans.
So I was originally brought on back in 2010, I want to say. I had sculpted a Godzilla for fun for my art class, and I just posted it up on DeviantArt and a bunch of other message boards and stuff like that. And one day I got an email from Legendary Pictures, and they were like, hey, we really like your Godzilla. We kind of want this to be the direction that the new Godzilla is going to take for the movie. Do you mind giving us a call? And I was like, what? Like, no way. I for sure thought I was being punked. Like, I thought it was someone totally messing with me. And like, my heart was already broken because I thought that it was a joke. Like, I'm like, this is someone being a total jerk right now. But no, they gave me a phone number, and then I called, and they're like, oh, you've reached the offices of blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? And then they're like, yeah, you want to come in tomorrow? I was like, oh, okay, bring your portfolio. I was like, oh, okay. I pulled up to Warner Brothers with like that freaking giant water tower, and I was just like, what is happening? And then I walk in, and I'm sitting there surrounded by like a Batman Dark Knight suit in a glass case and stuff like that. And then they just sit around me, and they're like, hey, we really love this. Like, do you want to do you want to design? Do you want to help us get this off the ground? Because there was a lot of like, pretty much Toho was concerned because of the last movie that had come out before that. They really wanted to make sure that Godzilla looked like Godzilla, essentially. So I went in and then I did like within the course of like 5 weeks, like sculpted like 14 different Godzilla maquettes for them, as well as some designs for the Muto that he ends up fighting in the movie, where before they turned into like what they were more of a like a salamander monster or whatever. So yeah, and then from there they were like awesome, and then I started working on another movie for them, and then the designs went to Weta, and then Weta came back to me, and then Gareth Edwards came on as the director, and then he had new notes for me, and then I had to rework all that in, and then turned it over to him, and then from there Weta kind of took over and like added all these amazing textures that I didn't capture in my Super Sculpey sculpt that I did in like 2 days. So but yeah, and then they took it and ran with it, but it was amazing and a dream come true. I mean, I remember seeing that.
So cool.
Yeah, I remember my first thing with Godzilla being at like a freaking like a supermarket, and my dad being like, "Hey, you want to buy this movie?" And it was Godzilla versus the Sea Monster. That's what it was called. It was on VHS, and I remember popping it in, and I was probably like 5 or 6 years old, and then it just changed my life. From there, it was Godzilla all day.
So, long story short, Hector concept of the base concept of the Godzilla as we know him today.
Yes, pretty much.
That's
Kind of.
amazing. Now, are you in
That's
that?
so awesome, man. Like, I can't believe that. I'd tell that story everywhere if it was me.
I didn't even know about that.
I'd
That's
have it
incredible.
printed on a shirt.
Yeah, I think also another thing to take out of that story is like, you know, a lot of times we'll get asked sort of like how the artist like selection or curation process comes out of, you know, how we find our artists, so to speak, because we don't have any sort of formal submission process, at least when it comes to like artwork and for posters or things like that. You know, a lot of that is just us keeping our eyes and ears to the ground level. It's you know, me, Mitch, and Rob just kind of keeping our eyes open on like Instagram or wherever, you know. So we always tell people it's super important if you're an artist trying, you know, to make your work as visible as possible and put it out there as much as you can. You know, hashtags are your friend on Instagram, you know, and it's great. It's kind of a testament to you. Just, you know, you put a design that you were excited and passionate about, you put it online, and then someone saw it, someone who needed to see it saw it, and led to that story, man.
Yeah, and I always, when I've done a few lectures at my old college and stuff like that, and that was always the number one question. And it's always like, you know, I know a lot of people are afraid, maybe not afraid, but they're timid, or they're not sure if they should put their stuff out there. But it really makes a difference. It makes a difference, and you never know who's looking at it, and you never know who's gonna say like, "Hey, your stuff's awesome. Like, do you want to design for us, or do you want to sculpt for us, or do you want whatever?" I mean. It can happen, and it's just one of those things where you'll never know if you don't put yourself out there, and it's important to do it, to at least try. And yeah, so
And that's-
here I am today. I'm working at Mondo, which is another dream job for me, which I never ever in my whole life thought was ever going to be a possibility. So
that's not your last time sculpting Godzilla either, huh?
no,
Looking over your shoulder back there.
yeah. So if you want to, so we also are doing a series of Godzilla statues. They're going to be about 14 inches tall, and they're going to be a mixture of vinyl and polystone. And this is our Mothra statue right here, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, so with Godzilla, it was sculpted by the amazing Mark Newman. And then I went in there and did some adjustments and stuff because Godzilla is so particular, and there's a lot that goes into making a Godzilla that you'd be surprised how how unique and how interesting it gets when you're trying to make sure that all the right parts are like proportionate to each other and all that stuff. So we're really happy with this statue, and then we're super stoked about Mothra as well. And then we have plans for next year. So Godzilla comes out in November of this year. and Mothra comes out next year in around I forgot. It's on that thing. I think
I'm gonna pull you on screen for a second, Hector, because you can see the prototypes in the background.
Yeah. Let me grab them.
Mark Newman doing a Godzilla. Wow.
Yep. Oh.
It's so rad, man.
Yeah. So Mark Newman, he pretty much he started this sculpture, and he did a fantastic job. I just went in there and just adjusted some proportional things and this like some things on his face, which was the hardest part to nail. Like the hardest part of Godzilla, I think, is his face, because it's so unique, and there's so many like bumps, and the scales aren't really scales; they're more just like carvings and stuff like that. So yeah, and then I was the one who painted this as well.
And Mothra, that Mothra paint job's killer, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, let me get. Oh. Yeah, and this is our Mothra. You can kind of see how big she is.
That's amazing, man. Like,
So you said they're part vinyl too?
Yeah, so they're gonna be a mixture. Some of the like her little legs right here, they would be too fragile in polystone, so they would have to be made out of vinyl. And maybe same with her wings, they would be too fragile they would break in polystone. So the safer route to go would be like a hard vinyl, and stuff like her base and stuff will probably be polystone. But yeah, so yeah, we're pretty stoked. The wings were a pain in the butt to paint, but they're awesome though. I'm happy. How they turned out.
Who sculpted that Mothra, Hector?
Mothra was sculpted by Matt Black, who is an amazing sculptor, and he also sculpted our Creature from the Black Lagoon 6-scale figure.
He also did the Krampus mug, right? Didn't he?
He did, yes. He also sculpted the Krampus mug.
And our creature statues too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he sculpted the creature tiki mug. He also sculpted that. He did Hordak also, Mike, if you want to pop that.
Yeah, he's an insanely talented sculptor.
Oh, that's awesome.
3-year-old approved.
That's great. My son who's 2, he I've already got him into Godzilla, and he calls him Goji, and and he finally recently learned how to say Mothra, but he kind of goes like Mata, but he knows because when he sees it, he's like Mata and Goji, and so he calls the Hedora the Hedora Sofubi, he calls it the Blob. But yeah, Matt Black also sculpted this that amazing Hordak, which we'll be releasing next year.
Wow, those are beautiful.
Yeah. I think another thing we should highlight is our Rick and Morty series.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's we have our Rick and Morty statue coming out next month. Actually, it's almost like a companion piece to that Adventure Time statue we released a while back, a couple months ago. But we're really stoked with this design, and these are Rick and Morty series 2 is our follow up to our series last year, which was super successful for us and beyond our expectations. Like did so well that we were like, we have to follow it up. So we picked some cool characters. And
yeah, we want to go deep with these characters because there's so many good characters on Rick and Morty. I know Florian's a big fan. We always talk about it.
Oh yeah. I love Duke's Rick the Head.
Yeah, we're super stoked, and I'm particularly happy about Scary Brandon, who's like probably the cutest thing I've ever seen.
We want to do a vinyl version of him at like 6 or 7 inches.
Yeah, a big one would be really fun to do. Yeah.
That show has a ton of great character design that's just hidden in the backgrounds a lot too. So much good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, we can like do Rick and Morty for years and just like scratch the surface of like just the character selection. There's so many.
Can you guys do a Squanchy with the belt?
Did you see Squanchy in the statue? Oh, I don't know if he's in that photo.
Oh, he's not. But
no, this is the regular version. The exclusive version has Squanchy.
Yeah, Squanchy is like being attacked by one of the tentacles.
Oh,
it's fun.
We have a couple of questions about the mecha.
There's another question keeps repeating by Marco. Man at Arms is sold out. Sorry, man. Exclusive's gone.
We will do a variant of Man at Arms. So there will be another Man at Arms out there. But as of now, yeah, it is sold out.
Man, that's a pretty serious tea you just dropped there. I'm impressed.
What was sort of the genesis of the Marvel Mecha line? How did this come about? You know, what you guys want to do with it?
I think the original plan was just to kind of take Japanese inspired mecha and apply it to IP that hasn't had that treatment before. So with Spider-Man, we were particularly inspired by Evangelion. And so we really wanted to capture those sort of proportions, and almost like if Spider-Man lived in Evangelion, like what would he look like? And so with the regular, with the Spider-Man regular, if Mike, can you click on that one? The Spider-Man regular. We really wanted to capture that sort of really colorful look that the Evangelion robots have in this piece. So that's why he's so there's a lot of color going on, even though it's only 3 colors like red, blue, and gray, but we still wanted to make him pretty vibrant. And we're pretty stoked on him. And then this is going to be our regular in Mondo. Our Mondo site will have the Symbiote exclusive, which was inspired by Tom McFarlane run of the black suit Spider-Man with those the big white eyes and stuff like that. Which is it's like when I think back at the symbiote suit, that's the first thing that always pops into my brain is the McFarlane run on that, which for me was one of the coolest looking suits that they've ever created for Spider-Man.
Kind of on the topic of Marvel and on the topic of just where things originated from, I also would love to just hear how the Groman partnership with Man-Thing, was that something that, James, did you kind of cold call that, or did Hector and Mikey talk to you? Were you guys just kind of talking about wanting to do something, and how did that come about?
That was Bobby.
Bob.
me and Jim have a mutual friend named Jim who made an introduction, and then I made an introduction. I mean, it's not as sexy of a story as you'd like to have, but that's how it went down. And then the Burbank boys went all fanboy on it for 2 hours. It was
I mean, when we go to Designer Con and stuff, and we just, we've been fans of yours, James, for a while, and we were just when we got the chance, we were yes, please. We're salivating. It was one of those things where we were please, let's make this happen.
Yeah,
well, the feeling's definitely mutual, because I know at Designer Con I've talked to a couple guys from Mondo. I was doing a signing one time of some Madball product and had a conversation. I just can't remember the names of the people I talked to, but I've been wanting to work with you guys for so long. So yeah, this is really exciting.
Yeah,
King Kai or the King Corpse and your Kaiju Killer are I just remember walking around Decon the first time and how much those jumped out with everything else that was out there. They're so stellar and just crazy out there designs.
Yeah, and I think and this is just the start of our partnership with Man-Thing. We're hoping to expand this line to include other Marvel monsters and other characters like potentially Venom or the Hulk or whatever else we may come down the line. But this is just kind of the start of our Marvel monster vinyls by James Groman.
And we'll try to find something even more obscure than Man-Thing.
Right.
Yeah.
No, actually, I gotta believe everyone that I talk to, that's one of a lot of people like it more than Swamp Thing.
I do. It looks cooler.
Yeah, and I totally agree. So I'm hoping that it leads to some more stuff. But right now, it's just concentrating on now if I can just match up to this artwork and it looks that good and actually make it so it can be produced.
Yeah.
That'll be the next focus. But I can't wait to start digging into it.
Go ahead.
I'm going to highlight this question. This is
Sure.
from Brian. Do you ever find yourselves working without a solid reference for all the angles as you sculpt and need to fill in the details yourselves?
All the time. Every single time. You'd be surprised like how many times concept art can literally just be one image sometimes, and that's all that a sculptor has to run with. So essentially, when a sculptor is going off the concept art, they may have to actually design whole areas of the piece. I don't know. I mean, I've had that come across for me many times. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Florian, I used to do designs like the front, side, back for everything. That's how I was trained. That's what Hasbro. It's all about the characters' style control drawings, schematics, whatever you call them. I used to do tons of those. And as I started to do my own stuff, when I'm actually creating my own characters, you need those less and less because it's all up here. It's in your head. So, and it becomes more fun to actually concept while you're sculpting. You get the basics down, you know what the structure is going to look like. So I agree. I think it actually makes it more interesting to kind of find that stuff as you're working on the sculpt.
That's great.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think
I've seen a lot of questions about the Batman the Animated Series line. Do you want to show off what we kind of teased in the slide?
Yeah, let's do it. So everyone's been asking for this every time we release a new figure, this seems to be the first thing that gets asked. So we decided to finally do it. And this is very, very early work in progress. It still hasn't been articulated, but we really wanted to show it off and just let people know that he's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming. It'll be next year. But he's in the works, and we're dialing him in. He's going to come with a bunch of fun accessories, a bunch of swappable heads, and stuff like that. So we're just really we're excited to finally bring Joker to life and add it to the cool animated series line.
Yeah, he's a wild character. Just like every picture is different when you look at him. So trying for Hector and I to find reference for art direction, it's just it's a struggle just trying to find the right perfect example of how to get him in 3D.
Yeah, Mikey asked me, hey, what did Erickson use for any of the Joker Batman posters that he's been working on? Can he share that reference?
Yeah. It's every single image we've found of his face. The proportions change, so we're still in the process of trying to find that right balance, and trying to get him to look as close to what we all remember in the animated series as possible.
Something really cool about the Phantom City creative stuff is he really nailed that stuff perfectly, and it has such a three-dimensional quality to his illustrations. So those have actually been almost the best reference we could get, is the Mondo posters. That
I see someone asked about the Joker fish accessory, and yes, that is happening. He will have he will have two fish. Which we're stoked. Yeah, he'll have that and some other fun stuff that reference the show. And
I think you had pulled the image up a couple minutes ago, Mikey, but there's a lot of questions kind of after the presentation about Creature from the Black Lagoon. Love to hear you and Hector talk a bit more about that.
Sounds good.
There's that fish boy.
This is a figure that's been in the works for a while now, and Mike, if you want to show the slide that with the articulation.
Yeah, so we just got these pictures from the factory of an actual first shot on it. Yeah,
so he's going to be pretty articulated, and he's going to come with some accessories, and we're just it's been a journey to get him to a spot where we felt that it was good enough, and now it's we feel like we're really happy with how it looks, and so it's now moved on to paint sampling, and then from there it's just going to go into production, and it'll be out for pre-order up in October. And Mondo's going to get a silver screen black and white variant that will just be exclusive to the Mondo site.
When I saw the paint on that in the photo, I thought it was actually just someone desaturated the photo.
Mhm.
Because the paint job it looks exactly like a black and white still. It's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm Hector.
Oh,
go ahead, Jim.
I'd love to see you guys do like a replacement head where it's because there's a slight difference with the Revenge of the Creature's head and the shape. It'd be awesome to have like a replaceable head that might look more like the sequel version of the character.
We have the actual underwater head as a replaceable head. Or the actor actually he wore it was a different mask that he wore when he was underwater. So we have that as a replacement, and we have the fish hand. I mean, the fossil hand.
Oh yeah.
That you see, that's also there as an accessory, and a couple swappable hands and stuff like that, and feet.
Hey, Hector, I was going to tell you, I don't know if you saw, but Teddy says hi to you in the chat.
Hi, Teddy.
There's been a couple of questions on Mondoids.
Hi, Mike.
And whether we're going forward. You guys want to talk about that? Yay or nay?
Yeah, we can talk about Mondoids.
We're coming up on time too. So.
Yeah, we're getting close there. Mondoids, we're definitely doing. We can say this. We couldn't show images of this, but we are doing Godzilla versus Kong Mondoids for next year to launch with the movie, and we're also doing Godzilla versus Kong tiki mugs, which we weren't able to show either, but. Yeah, in terms of Mondoids, those are the next for sure things coming out, and we're still working on trying to release the other ones.
Turtles was the other question that kept coming up.
Turtles right now we're not doing much with. We might address it in 2021, but for now, yeah, it's not a thing. Any other questions?
Yeah, if anyone has, we're coming up. We'll start wrapping it up here in the next like 10 minutes or so. But if anyone just has questions, fire them away in the chat. For Hector, Mikey, Bob, James, Florian. Any questions? Let's get to them.
That's a cool question by Justin Whedon. I hope I said his name right, about what goes into deciding which Disney properties get tikis. I think for us, it's been pretty much the movies that we've grown up with that have meant something to us. So like we have the Lion King tikis coming out, and it's one of my favorite Disney movies. And we have Cave of Wonders, which Aladdin again is one of my favorite Disney movies, and I think it has come to the point where it's just whatever we grew up with, we were just really stoked on, and we're like, let's try to make these.
Saw a question here as well. What are some of your favorite clays? And I'll add on that. What are some of your favorite clays or tools to work with whenever you're sculpting? Do you have your old trusty faithfuls like that you always go back to?
James, you can go first.
Yeah, mostly I love real small loop tools for cutting and getting little small wrinkles and everything. Then I have a little tiny, I think it might even be a dentist tool, but it's a little spatula, so those are two of my favorites. Most of them are little small tools, but and I love Super Sculpey. I still use Super Sculpey. I take the regular flesh colored Super Sculpey and I mix it in with some black Sculpey 3. I get a gray color, cuts down on the reflected, the glare and everything. That's my all-time favorite. And then the second probably would be Monster Clay. If anyone's familiar with that, that's kind of it's actually made here in Cleveland where I live. It's great material, but yeah.
I would second everything he said. I started with Sculpey, Super Sculpey, and then moved on to Chavant clay, and then Monster Clay, and then some wax like wax that you get a little more. It's better for detailing. And then for tools, for tools, sometimes we even make our own tools. Like I remember making tools out of guitar strings to just give me like a finer, finer detail and stuff like that. So, yeah. And then now ZBrush, just use ZBrush.
Yeah.
There was a cool question from Vanessa. She opinions on trying to enter the industry later in life. And I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where you just have to try to put yourself out there. And sadly, conventions aren't happening right now, which is a total bummer. But when those things happen, you go up to the booths, the people that you like, the companies that you like, and make the effort to try to show them your work, give them your business card. I remember one Comic-Con, I walked around with a Godzilla sculpture strapped to my chest, so that I could try to get a job after I was, in a period when I was jobless. And so I was just walking around, and I was able to get 5 jobs out of that. And it was one of those weird things where sometimes you have to think outside the box, or sometimes just be okay with putting yourself out there.
It kind of goes back to what you were saying too about just throwing your stuff on Instagram or DeviantArt and getting the right person to see it. And that's a really cool thing about Instagram. There's so many great artists out there. It's just get lost in it.
And also knowing the market. So you see how good the stuff is. You want to have your stuff that try to get close to that caliber. You want people to see your work and get excited by it. And just always be aware that you want to be as good as these people that you kind of your heroes.
Yeah, and don't get discouraged. I think, because even when I look at stuff on Instagram and ArtStation or whatever, I'm just like, oh my god, like so many people are so amazing out there. But don't let that discourage you. Like, just because someone is better, and there's always going to be someone better than you, it doesn't mean that your stuff won't appeal to somebody and that your stuff isn't good enough. So I think that's a good takeaway to have, at least for me, because I always run into that problem. But yeah, I think there's a couple other good questions.
Quick, there were a couple about Batman animated series and follow-ups to Joker. We've got designs for a few, including Harley and Batman Beyond. So as long as you guys are into them, we'd love to keep doing them.
Exactly. Yeah, I think as long as people support the line, we'll keep making the figures. I would love to make Mask of the Phantasm.
Yeah,
that's like one of my dream ones to make, or Clayface. Which
we talked about doing a Clayface in like Rotocast, like in like 18, 20 inches.
Yeah, and it would be fantastic. But again, it depends on the support for the line, and we think Joker is a great one to launch next year, and then after that, we'll proceed with some other stuff. Like Harley would be the obvious choice after Joker, and then from there I would love to go into stuff like Batman Beyond or Mask of the Phantasm or even Two-Face or something like that. That would be a lot of fun to do.
Yes, Jack Thompson. I've tried to sell them on Clayface about once a week.
That would be.
Or
amazing.
Thomas. Sorry, got your last name wrong.
Yeah, Clayface would be awesome. It's one of those other things like for Masters of the Universe. We would love to do a Battle Cat.
Someone mentioned that in the question. Yeah. That is too. Yeah, that would be awesome.
We want to. We really do. It's just we're just gonna try to figure out when and if we can squeeze it in there. But Battle Cat, Panther, whatever would be amazing.
Someone was asking, Captain High was asking, now that you're working with Microsoft for a Halo poster series, will we see a Master Chief figure? Right now, it's just posters. I think that got revealed today. Matt Ryan Tobin has a beautiful Halo poster that we're putting out tomorrow, I believe.
Yes.
But yeah, so right now it's just posters, and we have plans for a few more kind of leading up to the release of the game. But, who knows? Maybe that'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you never know. As of now, in our department we don't have any plans, but Master Chief would be a freaking awesome thing to do.
I agree with Lavender, a Rob Jones figure.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
I'd buy a Rob Jones.
I think we can start to wrap it up. We have some giveaways to do for some people that have been in the chat. Do you want to let's kick those off?
I do. Hang on, before we get to the giveaways, Aaron, next MondoCon, please have a tiny tiki mug hands-on workshop where we can play with clay. I love that idea.
Amazing. That's a great idea. Yeah,
a little workshop station would be awesome.
Yeah, and we to expand on that, we can even have things for you guys to paint. and stuff like that too.
If we do like Color Me Mine style would be fun.
Yeah, would be pretty funny. And yeah, we next MondoCon we Collectibles plans on having more stuff to do there for sure.
That's a great idea.
Sorry, I interrupted on the giveaway. Let's go to giveaway.
Oh, no, you're good. You're good.
Okay. Let's get some people's stuff.
How do you want to start?
How are we doing it? What do we got? What and how? Let's start there.
You want to go? You want me to ask the questions, Mike?
Yeah, go for it, man.
All righty. Let me pull it up. All right. So we are. This one is for. Should I announce what we're giving away first, or?
Yeah, go for
All
it.
right. So this one's for our Modoc Tiki mug that's currently on sale on the website, which is our Comic-Con exclusive. And the question is, what does Modoc stand for? For first person to answer it, we'll get a free Modoc Tiki mug.
So many people Googling it right now.
Justin Cena's raising his hand. You got to type it out, bud.
Type it out, dude. Type it quick. It's a long thing to type too. Oh,
Posable Productions.
Did we get it? Did we get Posable Productions?
yeah, you got it. You got it. Awesome. No,
Sorry,
Ding, 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 ding.
there's more stuff. Don't worry. You'll have a chance to win other things. Awesome. So
For the winners, I think you want to email your name and address to support@mondoshop.com.
yeah. And then we'll ship those out to you. All right, next one. Let's do it. It's going to be for our Venom Symbiote Glaze that we're selling, the Tiki mug that we're selling on our website. We have I'm curious to see how many people get this. What did the 1991 Toy Biz Electronic Venom Talks toy say?
This is one of my favorite toys of all time. So
This is such a deep cut.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite toys also. So I'll repeat the question. What did the 1991 Toy Biz Electronic Venom Talks toy say? He had three things.
3 phrases. You
Yeah,
push
3
them on the
phrases.
back and he'll talk.
Well, we can take
Do they
two.
have to get all 3?
No,
Yeah, we'll give it for two. Make it a little harder.
We'll take sound effects too.
But this is for a Venom Tiki mug. Oh,
Yeah, Nicholas. Oh wait, someone got it first. Clem got it. Oh wait, no, Sean got it too. Oh shoot, I'm following.
no,
behind.
but we need someone to enter both.
Wait, we do want both?
Yeah.
I guess Hardiman was the first on there. These are all popping up slow for me.
How does someone win? Do they have to do both? Do they have to do both in one comment, or can it just be like you won and then the second time that they do the second one? I'm a little hazy on the rules.
I think Clem. I think we'll do it if they commented once and commented twice. So Clem would be the one that got it. Hold on, let me double check. Yeah. I want to eat your brain. And yeah, hiss. So.
All right. And who do they reach out to again to claim the
Hey
prize?
Derek, I think if Derek send your email too, because I think you guys are both right there at the same time saying the same stuff. So we can probably send you guys both one.
Sure. So who do they email, Mike?
It'll be support@mondoshop.com. Let me double check that, but pretty sure.
Can I say the next one?
Yeah.
So this is for our Thanos Soul version Tiki mug that's up on our website right now. Who defeated Thanos in the original Infinity Gauntlet comic book? So the question again is, who defeated Thanos in the original Infinity Gauntlet comic book to win a Thanos tiki mug.
The
No,
lag here is
Tom
killing.
got it.
Yeah.
Adam Warlock.
I
Oh no,
think
that's right. Oh no, it was Lobby.
Captain I5 had it first. It looks like in mine.
Captain High Five? Oh man, there's so many. Whoever said Warlock first.
I see Captain High Five on
Yeah.
mine.
Captain High Five.
Captain High Five.
Congrats.
You got it. You're getting a Thanos.
Yeah, reach out to support at Mondo Shop, and we'll get you taken care of.
Awesome. And last question, and this is for our sold out Merman Matubi that sold out yesterday on our website. All right, this is a two-part question. Who was the original toy designer on Merman? And what Merman toy shared a mold with the original Mattel figure in 1986?
Try to throw them in the same comment if you guys can.
So I'll say that again. Who was the original toy designer on Merman? And what Merman toy shared a mold with the original Mattel figure in 1986?
Why do I feel like I should know that?
Because you should.
The people are trying to Google this one, and this one's tougher to find.
That's a hard question.
Yeah, you gotta know your He-Man lore to get this, and that's kind of what we want. We want someone who loves He-Man to get this. Oh, yep.
Hero
Someone
Dan?
got it first. Who was it? It was Hero Dan TV. Right? Am I seeing that correct? Hero Dan TV. The answer is Mark Taylor and Stinkor. Yep, you got it.
All right.
Awesome.
Awesome, guys. Well,
Sweet.
yeah. So again, feel free. Those who won, email support@mondoshop.com.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Support at mondoshop.com.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you, everyone. It was awesome. This was a lot of fun. We wish we were at Comic-Con right now.
Yeah.
We're all bummed out that we're not actually there, but we're glad that you joined us, and thank you again.
Yeah. Thank you. And seriously, thanks, James and Florian, for joining us, man. Means
Yes.
a lot.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it was great. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah, I think that wraps up our programming for today. But tomorrow we are back at 7 p.m. Central Time, where our soundtrack team, Mo and Spence, will be hosting Mondo Palooza, which will be an awesome hour, roughly, of live performances. So thank you again, everybody, for tuning in. Hope everybody's staying safe out there, and thank you, everybody, for joining and for the panel here. So that wraps it up for us today.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.